not. I'm going to say that's a probably not. But you know, the idea is to make sure that your personal story has that kind of a climax. It has that kind of a, oh my gosh, I went this way and that was a big impact. Then again, there's also this shared world story that is outside. But we made reference to this in the past. When you think of the Star Wars movies, yeah, they're fighting against the Death Star, and then they blow up the Death Star at the end of the first movie. There is also Han Solo's cool story, where he's dealing with Jabba the Hutt, right? You know, everybody actually has a little personal story that's going along. So we're actually using that as a bit of a paradigm that we follow in the creation of our stories. There's going to be these personal stories. There's also going to be these more global stories going on. But within your personal story, yes, you're going to have a range.
Do you remember your question?
Can I check a duplicate question before I ask it and then remove myself?
Yes.
Okay, I'll do that.
This is more of an art direction question. Just can you talk about the decision to kind of, even though it's thousands of years before, you know, everything with Emperor Palpatine and all that, the choice to make, you know, you've got ships that look like ties, you've got ships that look like Star Destroyers, the Imperial symbol is the Imperial symbol. Talk about that a bit?
I can hand this over. I may have something to add, but.
Well, I think we're, you know, uniquely positioned to be new yet familiar, and I think we're just kind of taking advantage of that. I mean, there's certain things that maybe you as fans expect of us, or that we just want to do because we think it's cool. You know, Star Wars is amazingly rich. They've got, you know, I don't know what there is in licensing, but insane volumes of cool stuff that people have created. And, you know, we're just fortunate to tap into that where we can. Either be inspired by it, create and add to it, or just take straight from it and use it. So, yeah, you know, you probably see some things that you're familiar with, and I would say that's probably intentional most of the times. A Wookiee is a Wookiee, right?
Unless you shave it.
And this is just a funny little anecdote. Actually, we got a bug back because someone, and it was actually about the iconography, and someone came back and said, "Oh my gosh, you know, your imperial symbol is actually wrong because it's not exactly like there's like a little," and so I read it and I was like, "Oh, that's maybe it's a good point." And so I went to the art director and I said, "Jeff, what's going on here, man? Like, did we make a mistake here?" And he's like, "No, we did that on purpose. We want it to be slightly different. We want it to be something that has evolved over time, and so yeah, it looks a lot like what you've seen in the modern era, in the Galactic Civil War era, but it's not exactly the same." And so the ships that you see, they don't look exactly the same. They actually have, this is what our concept artists are, they're madmen about. They take it and then they dirty it up. They make some technological additions or detractions from a ship, and they say, okay, that's actually very much like the precursor that one might expect for that ship type.
So Dallas, I'm just wondering, are you saying that the Sith actually rebranded? And if so, was it successful, and why did they do so?
They hired a PR agency. They did a lot of focus testing, and they were like, no, this particular icon, it's a little off-putting. And we want it to be more off-putting because we're the Sith Empire.
Get evil focus group.
Exactly. Yeah.
That'd be anything to do with marketing.
Yeah.
I think that's a question.
Hi, Jason. You talked a little bit earlier about the cover system with the smuggler. And so let's say that you have a Sith warrior who can force leap into battle. If he's fighting against a smuggler, can he still use that ability when he's going to be fighting the smuggler? Or is he going to just like smack into the wall and take some damage?
I'll take a quick bullet. The exact mechanics of how PvP is going to work, we aren't going into. But the generic answer is, we want to make sure that these classes are balanced. So there will be resistances. There will be the sorts of things where, yeah, maybe you could knock him out of cover, but if you use this ability and maybe he has a way to counteract it, right? It's the way that PvP gets designed. You have a bunch of cool powers, and then you start fighting and go, whoa, okay, that owns. Okay, I guess we need to look at that, and we need to balance it. We need to knock down the damage on that, or make it less of a stun. That's the sort of stuff that we're going to be refining up until ship and beyond. If you play massively multiplayer games, you know that it changes every publish. Like, actually, we tweaked that 10%.
Well, just a few more, Sam.
Hey guys, how you doing? Our community's been asking a lot of questions that they wanted to know. One of the biggest questions they want to know right now is the flashpoints. Are they repeatable? Not necessarily to change your story, but for XP and loot reasons.
So that's the one flashpoint that you've seen was kind of a story-based one. There are, I'm not sure we can talk about this, but
You wanted to take the
I know, I just realized it.
So we will have repeatable content. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say, right? We know that you're going to want to get together with your guild and run it, and you're going to want to do it many times, and so that will be a part of the game. Whether the flashpoint is or not is insignificant to the fact that we will have repeatable content. Cool.
Hi, I'm Brian. So MMOs have a weird history with PvP. Some have just duels for killing time, some have instance battlegrounds for actual sport, and some have full open world conquering. I'm just curious, what function, if any, does PvP serve in all of them?
Your bullet. Did we already bullet this one?
No, okay. So yeah, the bottom line is we've announced there will be PvP. Obviously, as we've talked a lot about, the conflict between the Empire and the Republic is going to play a very important part. And whatever goes on, we know that's important. We know that bounty hunters like to fight with Jedi, etc. We just haven't announced the details on how that's going to work yet. But naturally, all of our designers and our team plays everything out there, and so we try to, find ideas that we find compelling, and we're certainly going to try to put those in place.
All right, I'm going to take a couple more, so think really hard. You're representing the entire TOR community.
Don't be like me.
Don't make us take a bullet. Did you?
Hi, Kevin. You've emphasized that all your choices will dictate how the game changes, and like your choice to kill the captain or not will change the way the game plays. A lot of world events in games like WoW and other things, generally the demons come, you kill the demons, the end. Like, there's no choice there. Will your actions based on this, if there is going to be one, a big world thing, will that change the outcome of the thing? Like, say that the Sith come, but you don't fight them, and so they do take over, or they don't, based on that.
So yeah, it's a hard question to answer. Or maybe it's an easy question to answer in that I can say that in some cases your choices are going to have wider impact. In some cases they're going to have just much more personal impact. We talk, and if you're going to go see the demo this afternoon, you'll hear either me or Blaine talk about it a lot. The choices you make, they have some immediate impacts, and those are the ones that right now it's my story changes, I get a different reward, I fight against different guys, this gameplay experience is totally different. There are longer term ones that actually that have an effect on my light side dark side status, for example, and what powers I get. If I go very, very dark side, I'm going to get I'm going to get dark side powers, whereas I could be a much more light side version of this class. There are also ones that affect story, and I've made reference to it as relates to the companion characters, but it'll actually affect other areas of the game where people will treat you differently, and they may actually talk to you in different ways. They may give you access to content that isn't available otherwise. In the greater world, some of them, as I say, someone was asking about phasing before. Like, there are some things that you can do that will change your world state, but that won't necessarily change other people's world state. I don't know if that answered your question, or if that was just a lot of stuff.
And so the other answer there is just basically, it is a BioWare game in MMO form. So you guys we've talked a little bit about differences that happen in Knights of the Old Republic because of your decisions. We've seen some of that in Mass Effect as well. We're bringing that type of system and storytelling to an MMO, so you can expect those same types of game-changing events in your personal story.
But will it be on like a global scale? Like, say that enough people choose a bad choice, will the world change as a whole based upon that? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Do that with people.
Next question. Not answering that, right? Let's just do one more. Is there a lady that wants to ask a question? No, I'll do guys dressed up as the Jedi.
No, thanks.
Last question. Make it good.
You guys have stated that abilities will be given to you through your moral or your dark side, light side alignment, and the quests that you're going to be given. Now, being that you can't really see into the future, and also you can't go back to redo quests, how do you plan to accommodate that dispensary of abilities so that the player isn't getting ripped off, or that they're not getting abilities that don't fit their playstyle?
start? Do you want to start?
Okay. So if I understand the question, basically you're sort of saying that, you know, obviously there's some choices that can impact light side, dark side, may affect. Yeah. How do I not mess up? And I think Dallas, I think you talked about this earlier, which is basically the idea that you've got a personal story, which is your sort of class story, and so we're not going to let you screw up to the point, you know, like if you're in a group situation, we're not going to let you mess up your entire character build based on decisions that sort of happen there. We want them to have an impact. Don't get me wrong, they do. But, you know, there'll be some course correction available as well.
Let me tell you one more thing. This is sort of, you know, one of the tenets of good game design that for a long time and in many titles people have ignored. We're not going to deliberately fool you. Like we're not going to set you up into a stupid situation where you're like, wow, the evil thing to do here would be to kill the puppies, and I'm going to kill the puppies, and then like at the end they're going to say, oh, you killed the puppies, that destroyed this planet, evil points. Or sorry, I guess no, it saved the exactly the vice versa, right?
Good job.
Right, exactly. Way to go. You know, we're not going to do that. So I think to what Blaine was saying, when you're in your personal story, it should be fairly obvious if you want to go dark or you want to go light, how to do that. And that said, in the greater world, we're not going to let people push you into a direction you don't want to go. So that doesn't. I don't think that answers all of the details. We're going to talk more later about the light side, dark side system and how it works, exactly the mechanics of it. And we're not giving all those details right now. But rest assured, we're aware of that as a problem that people would be afraid of, and we want to make sure that we don't put you into a state where you're like, ah, my game's ruined.
Yeah.
And it was because 300 gameplay hours ago, I didn't feed that mouse. I don't know if anybody ever played. Everybody played the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy game. I love that game. I love Infocom games. And there was a dog you had to feed, and if you didn't feed the dog, it didn't stop your game. You had to give him a little cheese sandwich. If you didn't do that, then like later on he just swallows the entire universe. And it was, you know, it was funny, but it kind of wasn't funny if you had to start again.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming at 3:30. If you want to see the live demo